the winter, okay? This is not an emergency that we have to shut this down. But of course, the governor there made it an emergency, said that she wanted this to happen. And we have now had both senators from Oregon, Ron Wyden is one of them, and we've had several congressmen, Democrat congressmen, all foes of the Second Amendment, saying that they need to not only teach these people a lesson, but they need to teach the people in Nevada that were at Bunkerville a lesson. That's what this has all been about from the very beginning. We could see this happening. I talked about it. Alex Jones talked about it. We said they're being set up. This is an act of revenge. But now it is getting beyond that. It is going to the ranchers in the other area because they understand what is going on, what the government is doing, what the end game is with Agenda 21. And that's what we're going to be talking to the ranchers about. Now, when we look at the government that is out of control, this unauthorized zombie government, as Politico call them, that's their term, not mine. They're a zombie government. I'm just saying it's a zombie bureaucracy apocalypse. That's the apocalypse part I see happening. But of course, as I mentioned, we've got all these agencies that don't even bother to follow the law to reauthorize them. They just let them write the rules. They arm them. Remember, it was a few years ago, we had a situation where, and in this article, Ron Paul was saying 20 years ago, when are they going to arm the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts? Well, they armed the education bureaucracy. They had them perform a SWAT team arrest on a family at dark 30, dragging the family out, putting them on their face, guns drawn to their head, because they're looking for the mother who no longer lived there that was behind on her student loans. A year earlier, the Washington Post had said, why is the Department of Education putting out RFPs for shotguns, for bulletproof vests, for SWAT equipment? That's why. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. In this segment, we have a couple of people calling us from the Oregon standoff. I was there last week along with Joe Biggs following the shooting of Lavoy Finicum. I had them contact me yesterday. This is Tom Davis, a local rancher, as well as Michael Emery, who's with the Voice of Idaho News, a local news organization. They called me with some very troubling information. Of course, you've possibly seen the video that we have on Infowars.com. The rancher who was going through the checkpoint as we were on the radio program with Alex doing a live broadcast. I had talked to Alex, and Joe Biggs was talking to him. And at that point, a rancher came through the checkpoint, and we went over and started asking him questions about what it was like to go through that checkpoint. And he was absolutely amazed. The first time he said he had ever had guns pointed at him. He and his wife were going through the checkpoint. They shined lights on them. They told them to get out of the car, have their ID ready. He said they had snipers and other people pointing guns at them the entire time they checked their ID. He'd been in Africa, had never experienced that. But yesterday, Tom Davis, a local rancher, contacted me and said that there is more troubling stuff going on there now. So I wanted to talk to the two of them, get an update as to what is happening on the ground there. We're hearing that there is a buildup of federal forces in the area. Joining us now are Michael Emery of the Voice of Idaho News and Tom Davis, a local rancher. I believe Tom Davis is there at the microphone at the moment. Tom? Doing fine. Tell me and tell the audience what you were saying yesterday about what is going on private property, because, of course, we're very troubled about the way they're treating local people going through these roadblocks, these checkpoints. Every time there's an incident, we see the government rush to create a kind of martial law scenario. But tell us what's going on private property.
Okay, down there on the Narrows, going down to Narrows, right by past Double O Road, they had a checkpoint set up where you got to go through the checkpoint. One rancher and his daughters were going through the checkpoint, young girls. They were stopped, and the government, with their weapons, all ready to go, I told them to get out of their vehicles, searched them, search their IDs, search the young girls, which is inappropriate to begin with. This is America. We're not in communist Russia or anything.
That's right.
And they made them walk across, took their vehicle, drove it down a ways, and made them walk in the rain to the vehicle after they inspected them to make sure they were safe with guns pointed at them.
Wow. Wow. So the federal agents drove the vehicle and took it down. Now, you told me about another incident with a man who was taking video at some point.
There was a gentleman taking videos at the rally up at the courthouse the other day, Monday. He was taking video, and he shined it over at the compound of the occupiers, the FBI and that. And he walked over, was videoing them, and one of those gentlemen with his M16 pointed at him, came up to him and told him to drop that drop his cell phone and picture down, stomp on it, and destroy it. The guy said, no, it's mine. And he says, well, if you don't drop it and destroy it, I will shove it up your
Yeah.
and you won't have it. And then he said, and I'll put a bullet through you. The guy was scared. He backed up, but still continued taking the picture, and he backed off from that gentleman with his rifle. I don't know who he was. He said he was FBI, but I doubt it. And just it was kind of terrifying to him. He was shaking. He was so nervous.
Well, you need to get that video to us. We'll put that up on our site if you can get that to us. You said when I talked to you yesterday that you and Michael Emery were both concerned that there is an escalation there that is not necessarily aimed at the 4 remaining people in that wildlife refuge.
Yeah, there's a constant buildup. We have Black Hawk helicopters showing up. We have Apache helicopters showing up. Those are war machines. They're for war.
Yeah.
We have MRAP showing up.
Yeah, I mean, Apache helicopter, that's the sort of thing they use in Somalia and Black Hawk Down. Basically, the guns follow the eyes of the pilot, and they're ready to shoot on command. I mean, that's a highly militarized weapon. We've got 4 people, basically, these guys that don't seem to be much of a threat to anybody except themselves, out in a very remote location, and they bring in Apache helicopters. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they're friends of mine down there across the county line where they want to do the monument for in Malheur County. They want to steal 2.5 million acres. They've been seeing Blackhawks and Apaches circling their ranches constantly every day, 2 to 3 of them circling their ranches. And then they're starting to get scared. They're being intimidated. We have, over in Crane, we have aircraft flying down the Crane Valley and that. And I don't know what those big aircrafts are doing flying over Crane, Oregon, and then they turn around and they come back across. If it's some type of surveillance plane, nobody knows. But it's just unusual for these big planes to be flying around in that area.
Now, you said that there was possibly an event that was going to be taking place tomorrow. Tell us about that.
It's just a gathering of people and that to protest, and the FBI, we're basically, go home. We don't need you here. We don't need all this military buildup. We don't need MRAPs here. We don't need the snipers. I was doing the interview, and I was sitting there watching 28 snipers packing in their personal weapons into the compound where they took over a school, and they're all up in the compound as command headquarters by our courthouse.
Now,
and we're just...
Even though they have arrested the majority of the people that were there, or they have now gone home, and there's only 4 people in that wildlife refuge, you've seen the federal government continue to build up forces in the area. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. We've seen MRAPs coming in yesterday past it. I live out here on 20 and that, coming in from Bend. Constant buildup of more and more MRAPs showing up.
Well, with the death of Lavoy Finicum, we don't want to ignore that. But Lavoy Finicum, I think, himself would want us to continue to focus on the underlying issues that he was trying to protest, that he was trying to educate people about. Of course, they were on their way to a meeting of 400 people in an adjacent county when they were arrested, the people that were with him, and when he was shot. Tell me about the general mood of the community there.
The general mood is we're outraged, we're shocked, and well-spoken, very versed man was killed for no reason at all. They were going to a meeting of the people. In Harney County, we have one gentleman, he's 79 years old, going on 80. On Saturday, he called up and said he was going down to the protest, the ambush and assassination of Lavoy Finicum. And so we all went down there to support him. And it was pretty cool seeing a father and his 2 sons standing there against the government, and the people coming together to join with them.
Yeah, tell us about that meeting. What did you know about the meeting that was going to be taking place in John Day, Oregon, the one that they were on their way to?
It was a constitutional meeting talking about the Constitution and all the land grabs that's going in our country. We were right behind. We were about 3 miles behind behind Amon and behind Lavoy. When they were headed up there, we got turned around at the junction by FBI, state police, and Harney County Sheriff's Office, all packing heavily armed weapons that you wouldn't use in a civil matter. This was a military buildup. And they turned us around, and I got a phone call right then. I have some horses 1/4 mile down from that blockade.